on our cake journey is the icing. Now we need to make our icing. We need a good base. What I'm going to teach you today is how to make a thin consistency icing. It's going to be a decorator icing, so it's going to look a little bit different than the ones that you buy in the store. That's okay, because once you start using it, it's going to act a lot different than the ones in the store. You can always buy a cake mix in the store, but you cannot buy this icing that I'm going to show you how to make. And you will see a big difference in it. So first thing we need is a bowl so that we can put our icing in there. And then you can either use a big KitchenAid, but I'm going to show you that with this, if you just have one of these, this is all you're going to need to make this icing. You don't have to buy a fancy mixer. Then I've got my pound of powdered sugar. Now, if for some reason you live in a humid climate where when you open up your powdered sugar and it's kind of clumpy, you'll want to go ahead and run it through the sifter because you want to make sure that there are no clumps. You want to get the smoothest icing possible, and to achieve a professional result, you will need to go ahead and sift it. And how much sifting is too much? There's never enough sifting. So just do it a couple times, and if you're in doubt, sift it again. Eventually you'll go, okay, that's good enough. So you just want to make sure it's nice and clump free, okay? Then we need our measuring spoons. The recipe that I'm going to go over will be down at the very bottom at the end of the lesson, okay? Measuring spoons. These are my shortening bases. I've got a bright white, which is this guy. It's a ½ a cup, and I have them in these nice little, I have to say, these Wonder Cups. They are wonderful. They're great for anything that's kind of got the base of a shortening. Great for when you're making cookies and you need to measure the butter, because you can pack it and then it's so easy, you just push them. These are perfect, okay? So I have my ½ a cup of my bright white, and then this is my high ratio shortening. High ratio shortening is the Cadillac of all shortenings. It's higher in emulsions, so therefore you're going to get a nice creamy result with it. If you can't find it locally, we will also have the website of ABC Cake Decorating, and you can purchase it through our website. Once you use this and the bright white, you'll be amazed at how easy you're going to be able to ice your cakes. Then we're going to need to have our meringue powder, and our meringue powder is a tablespoon of meringue powder. We also have flavoring. As you can see, there's many different flavorings up here. You want to make sure, if you're using a flavoring, if you want to keep it a white icing, then make sure you stay with a clear icing color. Unfortunately, a lot of people like vanilla and they want a real vanilla, but vanilla extract, pure vanilla extract, is lightly colored because of the vanilla bean. Therefore, the only way to get a vanilla icing is to use imitation. They just can't make a clear, pure vanilla. We also have a butter vanilla, which is kind of an ABC favorite. It's a butter flavor and a vanilla flavoring together. This is wonderful. You can put it in your pancakes, you can put it in muffins, you can even add it to your cake mixes, and I'll explain a little bit more about that as we continue through the lessons on how to flavor your cakes. And then there's also an almond, if some people like that almond flavor to it. And you can even mix and match these guys. You can put in a tablespoon of one or a teaspoon of one and a quarter teaspoon of another till you get the flavor just right. But you do want to stay clear of tinted flavors because you don't want them to tint your icing unless you want to color your icing. And which we have colors, and I'll show you how to do those after we make our icing. And then we need 6 tablespoons of water. There are different icing consistencies. The 6 tablespoons with the recipe that we're going to give you at the end is for the thin. We're always going to ice our cakes in thin. If you wonder why the icing's not spreading smooth, self-check yourself and make sure that you're using the thin icing. There's a medium and a stiff, and as we start on our journey decorating our cake, we're going to go over those, okay? So you'll learn them. You're going to learn every little tip and secret that I know, okay? So we've got our bowl, and the very first thing, and like I say, you'll get this recipe, it'll be on the bottom. It says we want to gradually add water to our powdered sugar. Well, if you're mixing it with one of these and it's a pretty shallow bowl, you don't want to just put all the powdered sugar in at once, or it's going to, and you're going to look like you've been baking for a long time. So I'm just going to lightly add just a little bit of this. And then I'm going to, it says to gradually mix the meringue powder. So you can actually just take all the meringue powder and put it in here and just kind of stir it. Just kind of stir it just a little bit so that because once you start mixing it, it's all going to incorporate anyway, okay? Want to make sure you get it all. So there we are. Now we're going to just kind of incorporate that just a little bit. And then we're going to slowly add our flavoring, because there's such a small amount, because we're only adding a ½ teaspoon of flavoring. So if you wanted to mix it, you could do a ¼ teaspoon of vanilla and a ¼ teaspoon of almond, so that you get your ½ teaspoon. Okay. Now what I'm going to start doing first is I'm going to add a little bit of water, because I don't want my powder to start going everywhere. Now I'm going to start on low. When you're using a hand mixer, and if you're afraid that you're going to make a mess, you can always put a towel over the top so that you don't make a big mess. So I'm slowly going to just start mixing, and I'm going to add my water. And we're just going to mix. And this isn't a timed process, so you can take all the time you need. And so I'm going to slowly add a little bit more. If you do have one of the big mixers that has a deep bowl, you can pour all this in at once, because you won't make such a mess. But when we're doing it this way, we want to take our time. And we're going to keep mixing this. Okay, now when I have it about halfway in here, I'm going to start adding some more of kind of like my wet ingredients, only because this is going to end up becoming so thick that my poor little mixer isn't going to be able to handle it. So I've got my 3/4 cup of my high ratio shortening, and this is how easy these guys are. You just scrape it off. Look at that, it just falls right in there. And then these are so nice, you just pull them apart and you can wash them. So they're excellent. Love these guys. Don't put liquid in them though, it'll leak. And then you'll have a mess, because I tried it, it doesn't work. So, okay. So we got these guys, and we're just gonna kind of mix it around just a little bit. Now we're gonna turn this back on low again. And you can hear my little guys starting to give it up. But you don't ever want to go over half speed anyway, because you don't want to start whipping a lot of air into this. Or what's going to happen is when you start to ice it, you're going to end up with a bunch of air holes, and it's just not going to be nice and smooth. And then once I have all of this in here, I'm going to stop and scrape the bowl to make sure I get it all. Parchment paper. I have to tell you, that is going to be one of your best buddies. Love parchment paper. It's great for things like this, keeps the mess off your counter. Great for when you're baking your cake and you're putting it on the cooling rack. I've even seen people cut the parchment paper, put it in the bottom of the cake pan, bake the cakes, because it is bake stable. That way there, you pull it out, your cakes won't stick, pull it off and you're ready to go. Great for lining your cookie pans, so that you don't have to keep cleaning your cookie pans, and you can keep reusing that parchment paper over and over until you rip it or burn it. So here we are. We're getting this icing looking so nice. Like that. Okay, then let's go ahead and continue to mix this guy now. Now you want to mix it. It says mix for at least 5 minutes. When you're not sure if it's incorporated, I say mix it a little bit longer. I usually mix my icing, and this is a little tip, I usually mix it about 8 minutes, because I want to make sure my icing is nice and creamy and smooth. So as you can see right here, with the meringue powder, it's almost coming up with nice little peaks on it. after you've mixed that for about 10 minutes, you end up with a really nice smooth icing. So this is, even just looking at it here, you can tell it's not the same as what you would get out of the grocery store. It's nice, smooth, and it has a real nice peak to it. Now, if you wanted to keep it white, I'd leave it this way. But if you want to add color, many colors out there, but I would recommend using one that's considered a gel paste. They're concentrated. What that means is that unlike the other kinds of colors that you can get in the grocery store that are very liquid, if I added liquid to this, I'm going to reduce my icing down even more because I'm adding more liquid. These are considered gel paste and they're highly concentrated. Just shake it and you can just drop, and because they're so concentrated, I'm just going to show you. With one drop, and this is electric pink, one drop of electric pink, and we'll kind of stir it just a little bit. You can see already how much color is in here. Now, if you want it darker after you've mixed it, you can just add another drop. This way here, when you count the drops, if you happen to run short on your icing, but I'm going to have an icing chart for you. So you can have approximately, if you were baking this cake right here, a 7 by 3, it'll tell you approximately how many cups of icing you're going to need to ice your cake. This here makes about 3.5 cups. A pound of powdered sugar and all of these ingredients makes about 3 cups, okay? So keep that in mind. So if it says you need 6 cups, well then you need to make 2 batches. So now we're just going to go ahead and mix this in. And you can see right here, I'm getting a nice light pink color. Almost looks like strawberry cream. Okay, then we're going to stop. Just stir it around and mix it up a little bit. Now you've learned how to make decorator icing. Next, in lesson 3, we're going to learn how to torte and fill your cake. Hope to see you soon. Thank you for watching.